r/ask Reddit by Redmond Dts. What is the most unprofessional thing an employee has done that resulted in immediate termination? Kicked a service dog, thinking I wasn't watching. I already knew this particular employee didn't like dogs, which is fine as a personal preference, but this one was just quietly standing off to the side of the hallway, and it was clear she went out of her way to kick it. I fired her on the spot. We had an employee who got accused of sexual harassment. We had a meeting with him to get his side of the story and told him not to speak to anyone about it, especially anyone he thought might have turned him in, while we finished up the investigation. Just go back to your office and do your work. We didn't tell him who accused him, of course. So we are taking 10 minutes to decide to fire him and check with HR that we have checked all the boxes. Meanwhile, his response was to walk into his accuser's offices, shut her door, lean against the door so she couldn't leave, and start screaming at her. He got fired immediately. I was a kitchen supervisor in a nursing home, and we had a dishwasher on his third day pull the fire alarm on purpose to get out of his shift. I was part of the investigation since I was a supervisor on duty. He gave HR a wild story that him and another co-worker were roughhousing, and he was pushed into the alarm, and as he fell, his shirt got caught on the lever and pulled it. HR then showed him the camera footage of him looking to make sure nobody was watching, then pulling the alarm on purpose. After he was fired, we found out from another co-worker he was also suspended from his high school a couple months ago for pulling the alarm at school. Things started going missing from people's desks. The culprit remained elusive until one day he showed his brand new iPod to another co-worker. On the back, it was engraved with the name of a different co-worker who had just had his brand new iPod stolen. Managers were summoned. He was gone within minutes, and so were all the unsolved thefts. Many years ago, I had an OB-GYN appointment. A test had come back abnormal and things had to be discussed. I was young and scared. All I heard was cancer and infertility. I just started crying. My doctor was wonderful and explained everything. I was reassured, but still scared. The doctor and her nurse left the room, and I got dressed. As I left the examination room, walking by the nurse's area, I saw and heard her nurse mocking me. Wah, can I still have kids? Wah. Not only was I hurt, but also I was pissed. As I was rushing to leave, I passed the doctor's office. She was sitting at her desk doing paperwork. I knocked on her door jam with tears in my eyes. I thanked her for being wonderful, but told her I wouldn't be treated that way by her nurse. She then asked me what I meant. When I told her, she took me by the hand and together we walked back to the nurse's desk. She directly asked her if what I said was true. The nurse fumbled over her words. Basically said yes, but she didn't mean anything by it. The doctor said, "Get your things and get out of my office. You're fired." I never saw that nurse again. But I respected my OB-GYN even more. Peeled into parking lot 9 AM drunk and sideswiped a manager's car. Then casually walked to his desk. He was walked out about 5 minutes later. Bonus. Another employee told a customer I wouldn't buy the big bag of food when they called to check on their dog's testing results. Edit. This was not a vet with a dark sense of humor. It was a customer service rep replying to someone that had called into a lab to check on results. The rep did not even have the authority to disclose results. Worked at an automotive original equipment manufacturer, and only two types of summary terminations I saw. One was leaking photos of pre-production items and stealing. My favorite was a guy stole a set of prototype tires or rims, and then just put them on his truck in the parking lot. Manager who had been looking for said missing items happened by the truck walking into work, realized those were the tires he was missing. Fired the dude on the spot, but also took their tires back while he was being fired. So, when he walked out jobless, his truck was on supports with no tires. After a brief discussion about tattoos and locations, she dropped her pants in the office reception area to show everyone the ink she had on her ass cheeks. No underwear, just full frontal glory. Before I could recover from my shock and tell her to pull her pants back up, a customer walked in and then immediately walked out. There were other issues, but that was the straw that broke the camel's back. She was there for less than a week. Guy was a temp, had been there a while. The company had an unofficial policy to make any temp permanent if they wanted it after 18 months or so. As there was no other way to get a perm job there, this was highly desirable, lots of benefits and better pay included with job security. The week after being made permanent, he completely stopped trying, started turning up late, refused to do anything he deemed as not his job. Was given a fair amount of warning, including, "We will fire you if you keep this up." Yet he thought he was bulletproof. They sacked him a week or so later. Guy I worked with when I sold suits in a department store. He was a problem for a while, liked to take way longer than he was supposed to on his breaks, acted like a jerk to co-workers, go to the bathroom, and be gone for 45 minutes at a time, and so on. But management let it slide, cause he was a top seller, and signed up a lot of people for the store card. Till one day he mouthed off to the wrong manager. He was gone on one of his 45-minute bathroom trips when she came by making her rounds. I had told her that he had disappeared again and happened to be still fixing a rack nearby when he came back. She made a comment about how he can't keep disappearing like that, and he thought it was appropriate to ask her, "You wanna come to the bathroom with me and hold it so you know where I am?" He was gone the next day. Taking selfies and posting them to social media in a facility where photography is strictly prohibited. Dude took a selfie in front of some proprietary gear and posted it to his Instagram. Within 30 minutes he was escorted out of the facility. Looking at CP on a work computer at the methadone clinic where he worked as a social worker. Got a police escort and everything, even made the back page perp papers. My wife's company has a booth at Consumer Electronics Show in Vegas every year. I went with her one year. We are going up to our room from the casino, and there is one of the guys she works with, sprawled out drunk halfway in the elevator. Couple of his buddies are trying to get him up. I heard him say, "Oh shit, don't tell Phil," the owner of the company. Phil was standing right next to me. A guy I knew got fired for being late too much. Union tried to get his job back at arbitration. He was late for that also. We eliminated the position of one of our longtime employees. She was a pain in the ass and filed HR complaints all the time for perfume smells and people walking around in sandals that make flopping sounds, radios too loud, etc. All petty BS complaints. They really weren't terminable offenses, but we just needed to get rid of her, and part of the deal was she got a 40-week severance package. The terminated employee's manager was relatively new, so right after she was terminated, his VP told him to contact IT security and get access to her emails, private directories, and instant messages. Later that day, the manager pulls me aside and tells me they just fired a long-time female privacy administrator right after lunch. Apparently, when he got access to his terminated employee's instant messages, there were vile and disgusting exchanges between his ex-employee and the privacy administrator, who were close friends. They had offensive and racist nicknames for him and other managers and VPs in the company, and all of it was saved on the company's IT servers. At the end of the day, my VP pulled me aside and told me how furious she was that she didn't think to pull those instant messages before terminating our employee and giving her a $56,000 severance because she could have been fired for cause and saved the company a lot of money. I was asked to precept a nurse for a day to see if he was ready to be off orientation. I corrected a couple of documentation things, then when I watched him giving medications, he was giving the wrong dose of something. I pulled him aside and corrected him, and he shouted that a woman can't tell me what to do. He backed me into a corner. I really thought he was going to assault me, so I pushed past him and called his supervisor. He was out half an hour later. Turned out the supervisor was looking for a reason to fire him and figured I'd call him out. Saw a dude balls deep in a tube of grease one time. A new hire told the manager, either the long-time employee gets fired or he's gone. He's gone. When I worked as a mortgage loan processor, I discovered that the loan officer was falsifying documents in order to get a fraudulent mortgage approved. I worked with the manager to re-verify all the documentation as well as documenting how and why the documents he provided were fraudulent. He was called into the manager's office and confronted, whereupon he ran away. Literally just got up and ran and got his car and left. Left a series of drunk, very explicit voicemails on my phone, comparing me to the girl in the spicy movie he was watching and describing in detail the actions he was taking on his person. HR had to transcribe them all for the documentation. It was vile. I had to report another emergency room nurse for being super drunk on shift. Not even still drunk from last night drunk. Nope, started drinking at 8 AM on his break drunk. Police turned up at the door. New guy says they'll be wanting to talk to him. He packed up all his stuff, like he was leaving for the day, even though he was only an hour into his shift. Police identify themselves as being on a task force dealing with child protection. They do want to talk to the new guy, and they've apparently been trying to reach him outside of work for days. New guy liked computers and had no kids. He never came back. I wasn't in the meeting, but I was in the office when it happened. Woman called into a meeting while driving. Not the best thing, but not the worst thing. Until she got cut off by a black driver, forgot to put herself on mute, and yelled, "Fucking her." She worked on a 10-person team, and about 6 of her co-workers were black. Didn't even have to escort her out of the office, because she was working from home that day. Guy at my old job called in sick. Then went live on Instagram from a pool party with our manager's niece. He was tagged in the video. The next shift he showed up like nothing happened. Got walked out before he could clock in. Pulled a piece on a shift supervisor. We were working in retail and the manager was a complete asshole all the time. You know the kind. The type of person who gets super into company spirit and who power trips over their first job with an iota of authority. Still didn't deserve what happened. This guy, who got hired with me, had been complaining about him for a bit. One shift, I went into the back room, where we took cardboard to the compactor, and I don't know what started it, but I heard them yelling at each other. The manager never laid a hand on him that I saw, but this guy was really getting up in the manager's face, and one thing led to another. All of a sudden, boom, he had a gun in his hands, pointed at the manager. I don't know if you can call it immediate termination. The guy held it up, the manager threw up his hands begging him not to shoot, the guy just kept it trained on him, and then left. Police got called, but I never found out what happened to him. I just know he sure as fudge didn't work there anymore. A security sergeant called from home. I left a CD in the sergeant's office computer. Take it out and put it in my desk, but don't look at it. It contained a lot of kiddie videos. Not only fired, but usage on a federally controlled institution was a felony level offense. Never saw him again. Nurse accessed health records of their neighbor with whom they were having a property dispute. And the neighbor found out because the nurse threatened to share the info with their other neighbors. Congratulations, Insta fired and sued. Our chief of security was caught stealing patients' valuables from the safe. Escorted out in handcuffs. I worked in a Kmart store years ago that was being renovated. Our store manager was caught putting some boxes of floor tiles and buckets of paint in his car to use at his own house. We had a new manager the next morning. 2 stories. I worked in a hotel. On New Year's Eve, a guy called out sick. The shift before, he took a block of rooms and marked them as out of order, which no one questioned because we weren't that busy. Business hotel in the burbs. He also made a bellman's key, a key to open any room. New Year's Eve, he snuck into the hotel, poorly, with about 40 friends, including sex workers. He commenced to having a party in the out of order rooms. However, the dumbass didn't even block off the whole floor, so other guests called down saying it was really loud and there were naked women running up and down the hallway. He was fired and kicked out before the night was over. I also worked at a fast food place. I worked with a dumbass of a human that always got into trouble. I was doing my job and this other guy was busy playing with a new knife a few feet away, being dumb and making stabby motions with his hand in the brand new knife. I turned and he stabbed me in my hand. Not on purpose, but it hit maybe 1mm from the main artery in my hand. I've never seen blood actually squirt before this. I was taken to urgent care. The dude was gone before I got back. No major damage but 3 stitches. Still have a scar some 20+ years later. Guy went on an expensive personal trip to a tropical island and charged the entire thing to his corporate Amex, then claimed it was stolen and the charges weren't his. Never mind that the hotel and airline tickets were clearly in his name. One company I worked at sponsored a major football team. One day we were offered a free raffle for some free seats. An email went out to the whole company telling us how to enter. A relatively new starter did a reply all, saying, "I bet those marketing wankers keep this for themselves." He didn't last to the end of the day. New guy got completely shit-faced at the office Christmas party and sexually assaulted our co-worker's girlfriend. Luckily the guy didn't witness this, or things would have ended very badly for him. Dude came in the following Monday, looking like death, was ushered into a meeting room by one of the managers, and quietly left. We never saw him again. I worked for a swimming pool maintenance company some years ago. Every pool tech had a van with tools, chemicals, and equipment to drive. One first-year employee was arrested on the job for smoking meth in the van at a convenience store. There was a cop in the parking lot watching him do it, and he had the drugs, a pipe on him at the time of his arrest. I got a cell call from the boss, asking if my helper had a license, and we had to go pick up the van. I never saw the guy again. Day 1, made a phone call in the break room, bitching about the place, in Spanish. Manager is from Mexico, so he fired her in Spanish. That's all folks. Thank you for watching. If you like videos like this one, why not like and subscribe for more? Have a nice evening.